with you again for another SFOI 1000 update. As is the norm with me, I'm about 6 minutes late. When I'm doing this remotely, I have some technical issues, it seems like, so forgive me. It's good to be here with you today. Excited about this weekend. It's going to be a big weekend for SFOI 1000. Got a special guest for you today. You're going to enjoy hearing from Brother Joe here in a few minutes. But before we bring him on, I'm going to go over our games for this weekend. This Saturday, all these times, kickoff times, will be local times as normal, and typically the evangelists will be there 2.5, 3 hours prior to kickoff. That's what we do here in Athens. Okay, Saturday the 15th will be Red Harris Samuel will be at Middle Tennessee State. Kickoff 2:30. Bill Adams will be up there at the game of the week at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. Kickoff 3:30, where they're going to have University of Alabama coming in visiting. So Larry Sullivan's fans are going to be up there listening to Bill. So that's one thing I love about SFOI 1000 is when the fans from, say, UGA, Georgia, when they go to Knoxville, they're still going to hear the gospel because Bill's up there and vice versa. So that's why we want to try to get – one reason we want to try to get people at every home football game so that we can saturate the sports fan world with the gospel. So Bill will be up there Saturday. It should be a great crowd, an awesome crowd for that big game. Jacob Nelson will be at Illinois State, kickoff at 2. Francisco Nieves will be at University of Texas, kickoff at 11 a.m. I'll be down with my team at UGA in Athens at kickoff at 3:30. Pat Haggerty will be at Colorado State University, kickoff at 5 p.m. Joshua Tubbs will be at the University of Alabama at Birmingham, kickoff 2:30. Chris Hudson and Shiloh Gavin will be at University of Oklahoma. And I don't have the kickoff time for that one. I apologize. I'm not sure what time the kickoff is. If you're interested, you can certainly find it on Google, I'm sure. And then Sunday, we have 4 NFL games we'll have guys preaching at. Sterling Long will be down at the Falcons game in Atlanta, kickoff at 1. I'm sure that Brother Doug Rentz will probably be there with him, who does the Georgia Tech games, but he doesn't have a game this weekend. But he typically goes down to Atlanta with Sterling and vice versa, and I may show up myself. I like to go down to those games with them as well. Then Brian Nine will be at the Colts game, kickoff at 1. David Robert will be at the Saints game, kickoff at 12. And Heath Fussell, and I'm sure Dan Davis will be with him. They'll be at the Packers game, kickoff at 12 p.m. So be in prayer for these different outreaches. If you live close to one and want to find out what this is all about and check it out, I invite you to come on down and get with me if you want to come to UGA in Athens, or if you want to connect with some other guys, I can get you in touch with them as well. Or if you have a stadium that's not on our list, we certainly would love to have someone preaching at all these games. So just get with us. We have resources we can help. We have training offered, gospel tracts offered. We have a host of evangelists with many years of experience to give you advice and help you in any way we can. That will certainly do that. So I encourage you to get out and share the gospel with the sports fan world. There in the United States, especially, I'm sure all over the world, different sporting events, but in college football, especially here in the South, I mean, these stadiums are packed. At UGA, we have like over 92,000 fan capacity. Knoxville has, I think, over 100,000 capacity. So there's huge crowds of people to get the gospel to. So I encourage you to come on out and get with us, and let's get the gospel out to all these folks. And now I'm going to bring on my special guest, Mr. Joe Hinson. Brother Joe, he's a great friend, a great guy. He very inspiring, the work he does. We're going to let him share a little bit about his testimony, his ministry, and what he's involved in these days. And then we'll talk about the Cowboys games a little bit as well. So without further ado, I'm going to try to bring Joe on. Bear with me if it doesn't show up right.
Hey. You guys hear me?
Yeah, Joe, how you doing, man?
Doing all right. How you doing, brother?
Doing good. Hey, thanks for taking the time out to come on.
Yeah.
I apologize for the delay. I have Be Live hates me, this program we use.
No worries. We got it all worked out.
Oh, yeah, eventually. I even started like 20 minutes early and still was 6 minutes late. So, it is what it is. My old age showing through. But I appreciate you coming on, and I just wanted to get you to tell us a little bit about yourself to start with, and just kind of give us your testimony, how God saved you a little bit, just a short version if you want to.
Well, first thing I want anybody to know about me is I am a follower of Christ, a Christian. The second, after that is I'm a husband to Missy, and we're actually celebrating 25 years this December.
Amen.
And third after that, I guess I am a father to our sons Seth and Benjamin. And Seth is 19 and a full-time barber now, and my younger son Benjamin is a sophomore in high school. So as far as
Cool.
my brief testimony, I'll see if I can keep that real brief. I made a false profession of faith at the age of 18 when I was about to graduate from high school, and went on from for the next several years, marrying my wife, high school sweetheart, and once we got out of our parents' house, there was no desire for spiritual growth, nothing of the sort. Then that went on for a few years. Then we found out that we were going to have our first son. We were pregnant with him, and that got me thinking that maybe we should go back to church, and you have to teach our son right from wrong somewhere, and that's how we learned it. And went back to church, and but I was faithful about that. But if you were to take away the church attendance, which I thought was it was more about making sure I had the box checked so that God was still happy with me, rather than just being amazed by His grace that He's always happy with His people. I thought I had to have, there's some kind of obligation on my part to keep His favor, and but the thing is I would give my Sundays to the Lord, and then the rest of the week was all mine. If you look at the way that my life was going, Monday to Saturday, I was living for myself. I was not seeking the Lord. I was not seeking His word. I was seeking my own pleasure, my own desires, the lust of the flesh. I was seeking after all those things, and I fast forward a handful of years, and I was about 27, about to be 28, I think. I've been working for a university here in the area in Texas where I'm at, and I was driving back to the office from lunch. I was flipping radio stations, and this guy was I just landed on this conversation with this one guy. Was having a conversation with another man about the gospel, and for some reason I just had to tune in. I had to listen to what was going on. And one thing that was clear is that the guy who was talking to, he was a homosexual, and it was clear. It was pretty obvious by just hearing him, but he went on to volunteer that information later in the conversation, to which the evangelist didn't even bat an eye. He just kept on pursuing the goal of to present the gospel to this man and to call him to believe it. And that was hitting my ear kind of funny, because I had grown up in kind of fundamentalist circles, and that's the type that you just leave them alone. We don't hate them. We just give them their space and leave them alone. And I started listening to this radio program, and come to find out they had a podcast. Started listening to it on a daily basis, and he would have on people that would share a brief part of their testimony. And I kept thinking about my own testimony, how there was something distinct and different from what the people he would have on would share. Like they would start talking about themselves and their sin, and then they would get to the point where they came to an understanding of the gospel, and they hardly, most of them could hardly even get through it, because it meant so much to them. And I was just thinking, man, I just thought I was joining a club, and it was just as minimal as that. And we'll come to find out that this was 2006, 2007, somewhere thereabouts. This was it was actually Todd Friel, who was in charge of the radio arm of Way the Master Radio at the time, when he was still partnered with Ray. And so I started listening to him and listening to all the preachers they would have on there, little snippets of preachers like John MacArthur and John Piper and Bodie Baucham and Paul Washer. And I started to, just take do a self check as to where I was with all these things. And it all came to a head in my cubicle there at the university when there was this moment where I realized that I don't have a testimony, and if I don't have a testimony, that means I deserve hell, and God would be just to send me there. And I realized that there was no defense. There was no yeah, but this or that, and there was no blaming anybody else. My sin was my own, and I was responsible for it. And in that moment, all the sin that I went to for joy and for pleasure, um, in that moment I was ashamed of it, and in that also in that moment, that's when the lights just came on. The cross settled in the middle of all that, and I said, that's why Jesus came. Jesus came to save sinner. I'm a sinner. He came to save me, and I believe, and I haven't been the same since. And
Amen, brother. Praise
yeah,
God.
yeah,
I'm gonna move my computer. I don't like looking
sure,
at myself from that angle.
yeah,
It's rough doing this in a vehicle. I'll tell you what. Yeah, that's a great testimony. I think it's funny how a lot of us street preachers kind of we don't have the same path exactly, but we have a lot of this a similar circumstance. I was also a false convert myself for a while,
mm,
and I didn't run into Todd Frill first. I used to listen to the show, but I ran into Ray Comfort before him. But that's kind of down that road too. But we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you. So
yes, sir.
let's get into this. How'd you get involved with open air preaching?
Uh, well, being coming to faith through Way of the Master, had Todd and Ray's example I saw, and early on I I kind of tried to delve into that, but the church that I was a part of, they were more into the this is late aughts, early teens, where it was more like the missional movement, where you're supposed to just have just gospel centered lives, and that means what that means is you're going to have parties and you're going to invite your neighbors over, and they're supposed to hear the gospel, and that's just a normal rhythm of life, right? Everybody has parties. I didn't have parties. I wasn't doing any of that, and this my wife and I, we're just not that kind of people. We'll have a guest here and there over and do hospitality like that, but just to just put out all the energy and all the planning to get 20 people into our house, we just weren't doing it. And we were doing a lot of planning and not a lot of evangelizing, and I kept on getting more and more convicted over that. And then a dear brother of mine, you know him, I think Ed Romine, he calls me up. He's been involved with SFOI before, so I just assume.
Oh yeah, I know you're talking.
Yeah, good brother. Yeah, actually, it's Dr. Romine now, but
yeah, that's right. That's right. He's educated now.
Yes, sir. He's educated for sure. Yeah. Well, he calls me up. This is 2014, and he says, "Hey Joe, we're gonna be on the square downtown. We're gonna be doing some preaching." He says, "When can you be there?" He didn't leave me an out. He says, "When can you be there?" And I'm like, "Well, Ed, I guess I can be there in about 10 minutes." And so I met him up there, and I kind of at some point I was already kind of working towards this, and so at some point I had scribbled down what I thought was about 15 minutes worth of notes, and so I got up on the block that night, and I proceeded to just vomit out all that I had prepared, and what I thought was 15 minutes. I think 3 minutes went by, and I was done. And and Ed and brother Taylor Callan, they were both there, and there was and some other guys that had a lot of encouraging things to say, and it was biblical, and it was gospel centered, and the gospel was proclaimed, and you did a great job. And I just kept getting more and more into it from there. And actually, those guys, I think it was, if it wasn't that night, it was a night soon after, where they were talking about, yeah, we got to get ready for the Super Bowl outreach, And I was like, what is that? What are you guys talking about? Oh, you wouldn't be interested in this. Well, tell me about it. Tell me what are you talking about? This, they said, well, there's this organization that we're a part of, and we're going to go and to take a team of guys to the Super Bowl and do this kind of stuff out there. And I said, man, I think I want to be a part of that. I think can I come with you guys? And that was my first Super Bowl, which was Phoenix, I believe, 2015. And which we're about to head back there now, and so that was my first experience with SFOI, and I've been kind of going down that path ever since. To the extent now, I'm actually full time on staff. I've been full time on staff with SFOI in the George Whitfield program for going on 2 years now, a little over 2 years, I think.
Yeah, you just answered my next 3 questions.
Okay. There you
That's
go.
good. That's good.
Yeah.
So you met Bill, I guess, at that first Super Bowl.
Yeah. Real. Go ahead.
I think the first time, I think I might have seen you or met you, but the first time I actually, I guess, got to know you a little bit was when you were, I think it was at the Miami Super Bowl. You were a team leader and you taught one night. I don't remember exactly what you taught on, but I remember it was good. Of course, I can't
we were
remember
talking about that Super Bowl. We were talking about true conversion, and so we read up on a bunch of historic men of the faith on their conversion stories. And so my discussion was actually teaching through Charles Spurgeon's his brief testimony booklet called My Conversion. And
okay.
Yeah.
I remember it was good.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the first time when I'd seen you, I think, but I didn't really. I learned a lot about you when you were teaching the course as it goes. And last year, of course, I think you led the worship was it last year? All those years together.
Yeah. I tried to make a joyful noise and get people to sing along. So.
Yeah, it was good, brother. I enjoyed it thoroughly. So that's great. So tell me a little bit about a little more about this George Whitfield program. How does that work?
The ministry was SFOI was originally founded to lead outreaches to major sporting events around the world, but branching off of that, Bill wanted to enable men initially all over America and now beyond, if we can manage it, to go full time and to go full time into evangelism in their local areas. Yes, the sporting events, but also college campuses, downtown areas, or public festivals. Like tomorrow, I'll be doing an outreach with some other brothers at a Oktoberfest here in the area, and so just being available to go to those different things, and then abortion meal ministry, things like that, to raise up more and more men to be able to go full time after this. This calling, and it's named after the famed evangelist George Whitfield, who was maybe the greatest open air preacher of the last of the church, really, the saved Christ himself. And so just to emulate that work, and so our commitment is to preach in the open air. But if anybody draws near and has questions, we love to move on into conversations if we can.
Amen.
So,
So Whitfield, I know a little bit about him, not a whole lot. Whitfield and forgot his name, the Methodist guy. They were kind of
Wesley.
Yeah, they were
Wesley.
friends, and they had some division, and then they
saw
things a little different. But everything, because I've read some biographies on Wesley, and he's an interesting character as well. But they both are. Yeah. They're good folks. Bear with me just a second. Get my phone doing goofiness. All right, well, cool. I see Francisco's on here with us watching. Hi, Francisco. Hope you're doing good.
Hi, brother.
And you go out with, I guess just tell us a little bit about your ministry you do, besides not necessarily the Cowboys games, but otherwise what you do and who you do it with and all that.
Yeah, well, there's a good team of us here in the area. 3 of us are full-time. Myself, Will Dietrich, and Jacob Stafford. We're all in one form or another involved with SFOI, and Jacob's actually Will is actually he's on staff in the Georgia Whitfield program, same as I am, and we'll go to different college campuses here in the area. We'll go to abortion clinics. Actually, when that was open, we were going, but a lot of them here in Texas are starting to shut down. It's still not a good thing because they're still selling abortion patient products, but that's a different story.
Right.
So yeah, and then there's a good crew of guys that kind of come in and out when they can that kind of do this part time. And there's actually a couple of guys on the other side of the Metroplex named Landon and Jason that are both working kind of in their own capacities full time, I think. So.
Oh, cool. Good deal. Yeah, Will was on him and his wife and Pretty Little Penny. They were on
Yeah.
my Super Bowl team last year. It was a blessing to have them. They're good stuff. I'm
Yeah,
not
they're
sure
on mine
Will.
this year. So.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Penny's the best evangelist out there. Best one I had. Best team member. She didn't complain
Yeah.
except late at night when she got tired. She started complaining a little bit.
Yeah. All of us get a little grumpy at that time of day. So.
Yeah, they're good folks though. So that's cool. So tell me, how long you been preaching at the Cowboys games?
Man, at least 3 or 4 years. And it sounds like a lot, but really the commitment that we're given is it's basically 8 to 9 Sundays or 8 to 9 days of ministry throughout the football season, because there's only so many home games.
Right.
But yeah, it's been several years, and I always enjoy it. You know, it's except when I get my schedule wrong and I forget that they're at an away game and I already drove an hour to get there. So that's happened a couple times. Yeah.
Yeah, that's never good.
Yeah.
So I guess a couple weeks ago there was a Texas-Oklahoma game up in Dallas, and we were able to connect up there with Francisco and
Yep.
a few other guys, and y'all preached up there. How'd that work out?
That was fantastic. Yeah, we weren't sure about where to set up per se, because the way the stadium, the Cotton Bowl, is laid out in downtown Dallas, it's like kind of surrounded by the state fair grounds, and so there's a little more control over what's designated fairground. So we weren't sure how close we can get, but we ended up finding this one little narrow little spot that butted right up against it, where we could see the stadium in the background, and it ended up being like a choke point, to where people were coming from two directions, like from big parking lots this way and big parking lots to another direction. So two streets, they were converging in one spot, and they would pile up at this one point because they had to get through tickets and security. And so for probably at least 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours, there was a continuous body of like 300 to 400 people right there as they were trying to trickle to get into the stadium. So we had a pretty steady captive audience there.
Cool.
And then Francisco, they were off to just a block off on another corner. And so that we were able to kind of hit the crowds twice at some points. So.
Cool. Good.
Yeah, it was good outing. It was good being with Francisco. And
yeah, I like that. We try to go to. I'm sorry, what'd you say?
And he has his friend Tom is I guess he's one of his evangelism partners that go out with him regularly in Austin. Okay. So yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, we try to go to one away game a year. Mm-hmm. And we usually go to South Carolina. We didn't this year because we had other obligations, but I know there's some guys over there that preach, Ken White and Jamie.
Yeah.
And so we go over, try to every other year and see them. So that's kind of cool. But it's neat to go and just meet up with other evangelists. I think it encourages them. It certainly would me. Somebody showed up.
Yeah. One
of those other guys, and just kind of gives us time to fellowship. So I think that's one of the neat connections about Sports Fun Outreach is we got this weird little connection going on. It's just kind of I don't know. It's just kind of cool to me. I like it anyway.
Yeah.
So what do you think about, I know you go to college campuses and you go to the football games. Which is your favorite and why?
I really like going to the college campuses. And because number one, that's like public college universities are seeking to, they're seeking to deconvert the students there and convert them to their own way of thinking. And so there's a huge need there for continuing the discipleship that some of those students in high school were receiving, to encourage them on, or to insert some discipleship and some gospel consideration to those high school students who didn't have a chance to hear it and are now coming to the college campus and thinking for themselves and getting away from their parents' leadership and are starting to to drift and demonstrate that they didn't have something that their parents just kind of assumed they had all along, and so they're
Right.
and the students are a lot of them. There's a lot of hatred. A lot of them don't like our presence there, but on occasion we can even we're able to get past that and get down to the brass tacks of the gospel with a lot of them. Like last week, we were preaching last Wednesday. Actually, this week, this past Wednesday, yeah, we were on the college campus, and thinking it was going to be a pretty quiet day. We generally try to make sure that someone's preaching at all times, and especially when they're having a class change, when there's hundreds of students suddenly scurrying out from all the buildings. This little girl, she came and started asking questions of us, and she was asking about why Christians are uptight about homosexuality and things like that, and got to kind of walk through all that with her and present the gospel to her, and demonstrate that it's not out of we don't say these things out of a hatred, but actually out of a love for you and a desire for you not to perish. But I was able to kind of reinforce that with her and called her to repent and believe, and it was a good outing. But yeah, I always enjoy going to college campuses. So no shame.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. I guess I saw one of your videos. You and Will from the Texas-Oklahoma game, I think. And Will, I guess, doesn't get to a lot of games, but he was talking about how it's difficult to give out tracts at football games.
It can be. It can be.
What he was saying.
It just depends. Yeah. Well, a lot of what's happening at a football game is it's a lot of idolatry. They don't want anything to get between them and their idol sometimes.
I find too that people have mistaken us for ticket scalpers and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, some guy hold up a piece of paper, holding up this piece of paper. It's like, hey, I need two. Okay, here, I'll give you two.
Yeah, we experience that as well. It's kind of it can be difficult and sometimes a little frustrating, but and it seems like that seems like the case. I know at the Super Bowl, I don't hand out as many tracts as you think you would at a thing like that, just because I think it's like you're saying, it's idolatry. Plus, they're in a hurry to go from here to there, and they don't want to be interrupted about anything, and they're focused, and they may think, well, I don't know. It's like a gauntlet sometimes at the Super Bowl too. They're running through all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but it's. I just wondered if it was seems to be the same everywhere at football games as far as tracks go. It can be good and bad.
Yeah. Hit and miss. Yeah.
Yep. All right, brother. You got anything else you'd like to share that we've missed, or?
Yeah. Real quick, I am leading a team to the Super Bowl this year. So if anybody who has not yet registered or considered going, and you want to tag along with me, I sure could use the help. I got about 8-ish people confirmed. But we're trying to boost our numbers this year. We're all set a goal for ourselves of trying to recruit up to 15 guys per team. And so, if I want to help with that, reach out to me, or you can PM Alex, and he can route you to me. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I would have, of course, all the team leaders are awesome. They're all great, but I'd certainly encourage you to get on Joe's team. He'd be a great leader. He's got a lot of experience and. It's just a good all-around guy to take care of you. He'll do a much better job than I did. So, Will, you got something to look forward to if you're listening. All right, brother. Well, it's great having you on. And, again, thank you for taking the time to do so. I greatly appreciate your ministry and seeing you guys out there doing the work. It's encouraging, and I like the videos. You give a lot of updates, and that's encouraging as well. So we appreciate all y'all do.
Yes, sir. We appreciate it, too. Keep holding up on your end.
Amen. Just we're getting old over here in Atlanta. We need some young blood, so pray for us. So.
Yeah, we'll do. Yeah.
All right, brother. I'll let you get out of here, and I appreciate you, and God bless, and have a great day, man.
All right, we'll see you.
All right.
Bye.
All right, folks. There you have it, Mr. Joe Hinson. He's a great guy, and like he was saying, if you're looking for a Super Bowl team or you've never been to a Super Bowl, he would certainly be a great one to go with. I've been to 7 Super Bowls, I think now. I can't remember exactly how many. I went to my first one back in 2010. It was in Miami, and then I didn't go to the next 4, I think 5 maybe. Then I've been to all of them since, except for one. I missed the Great Ice Bowl up in the Great North there. I forgot where it was at exactly, but it was snowy, icy, and cold. I know, but I didn't get to go to that one. But they're great outreaches. I would highly encourage you to go. There's so much to them. It's not just simply going out and preaching the gospel, even though that's certainly enough and that's great to do. But you get fellowship. You get these four saturated days of training, fellowship, experience on the ground for 8 hours a day, out preaching the gospel, giving out tracts, having conversations, and all that. So I would highly encourage you to go. You will definitely be tired when you get finished. You will definitely be blessed. You will be encouraged. You will be edified. You will be challenged, and all the above. It's not like a normal. I think Joe was mentioned earlier about mission trips, and I know I've been on one earlier in life, a mission trip overseas, and I know there it's a little different. You might go on a mission trip, and a lot of times they'll have you a day or two where you're going to go out and see the sights or whatever. But Super Bowl outreach, don't plan on that. You're not. I went to San Francisco, never got to see the big bridge or Alcatraz. I was only about 2 miles away, but I was busy, and so it's not a vacation. It's work. It's ministry. It's evangelism. So we go to preach the gospel and to learn and to grow, and that's the whole purpose. So it's 4 days. Or intense days, if I can use that word, of ministry, but you'll love it. It's great. It's really nothing like it. And if you've never done evangelism like this, that's a great place to start. You may think, well, that's too much to start with, but I would totally disagree and say that would be a great place to start, because you're there, you're focused for 4 days. You got all these men around you that's been doing, some of them for 30 years, I think, or more. And they just have so much experience to share and pour into your life and fellowship, and you get to see other brothers preach and how they have discussions with people. You'll just learn so much more at a Super Bowl outreach than you would just kind of, dabbling in it a little bit here and a little bit there. So I would encourage you to go. And then I would encourage you to go back home and take this with you, and take the gospel with you. And as Joe was recruiting for his team, which I'm all about, I'm also recruiting for SFOI 1000. So I need guys to commit to preaching at these football games so we can saturate these fans with the gospel. So there's thousands and thousands of people you'll be able to give a gospel touch to, I call it, on any given Saturday. And like Joe said, it's only like a maybe 8-week commitment. If your team's good and they get in the playoffs or something like that, you might have a few more, but that's all good. It's just more times to share the gospel. So it's not a huge commitment. All you do is simply get out there, preach at these games, stamp a few pictures, send you in, a little report to Olivia, and she puts it on the website. Easy peasy, nothing to it. So I encourage you to do it. Let's get the gospel out. Go out and share this great news with this lost and dying world. The world appears to be getting crazier to me. So let's get out there more and more and get the gospel out there. Just and remember, we're not accountable for the results of the message. We're just accountable for proclaiming the message. We're ambassadors. We're not the Holy Spirit. We allow him to do his work. We just go out and proclaim this gospel as we have been commanded to do, and trust God with the outcome. So get out there and let's preach the gospel until all hear. God bless.